This is Rocky Hall, and I'm in Riley, Oregon, and I'm going to interview Tom here. And so, Tom, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you're here today.
Howdy, I'm Tom Davis. A lot of y'all know me as Cowboy Tom. This is 1 year, and now 4 days after the great LaVoy Finicum was murdered by the United States government and the Oregon State Police and the Harney County Sheriff's Department, the Harney County Chamber of Commerce, with the murder, county court, excuse me, not Chamber of Commerce, county court, was murdered by these convicts that think they're elitists. They are corrupt. And we must stop and look at the corruption within our communities. And we must stop it. And it's going to take each and every one of us stepping up. Be it you, a little old grandma sitting in the house knitting her sweaters for her grandchildren. Stop and look at that knitting you're doing. It's for your grandchildren. We are knitting together the United States. That has been destroyed by the corporations. That has been destroyed by U.S. Corp. The French flag you see is a nautical flag. It is not an American flag. It goes by nautical law, which is a corporation law. So if we stand together, we can bring our country and our grandchildren back to the freedom of America that we knew and loved. But it's going to take each and every one of us to come together and step out. Step out of your safe zones. If you don't step out of your safe zones, we will fall as a nation. We'll become like Rome, and they'll talk about us 10,000 years from now as what was a great nation and what destroyed us. Federalism is what destroyed us. The Federalist Republic. The United States government is not the #1 power in the United States. We are sovereign states of America. Each state is a sovereign nation that rules the federal government. And we have relinquished so much of our powers from the states to the federal government with our socialist governors, our socialist politicians that have stepped forth and say they represent us. They do not represent us. They represent the corporation and they represent their profit. They've gone into politics to make profit. How can somebody go into government as a poor man and come out as a multimillionaire? How can a community organizer go in and put into high, powerful places of religion that believes in Sharia law, which they perceive as overruling our Constitution? Our Constitution, if you stand in the government of the United States, you believe in one thing alone: the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution is what you believe in the most, is the most dearest in your heart. I had the honor of listening to Chris Ann Hall yesterday at LaVoy Finicum Memorial. And there was a party of people that got together to honor a great man. I had the opportunity to discuss this with a professor out of the University of Oregon, which is a liberal arts college that preaches nothing but anti-constitutional law. And he made some derogatory comments on that. Roxanne heard the conversation. I did not want to embarrass this guy in front of a bunch of people. So I approached this professor, this so-called tenured professor, about his comments he made about Harney County. Let me tell you about Harney County. Harney County is a county that is 75% controlled by the federal government, which is against the law, which is against the Constitution. And they control us and they own us. 68% of the population of Harney County works for the federal government. Out of that 68%, 45% are good, honest, God-fearing, constitutional-loving people. But of that, the remaining 28% believe in the corrupt government. And they will turn their backs on the Hammonds when the corruption happened to the Hammonds. They turned their backs on the Hammonds when the government was destroying the Hammonds. As they turned their back when the government was destroying the Bundys. As they turned their backs when the government killed our great man. And that spoke nothing about our freedom for the Constitution. So if we stand together, we can start educating people. We stand together against the corruption of these counties, of these cities, of our government, of our state, and that. And so I was honored to be in the presence of some great people yesterday, some very knowledgeable people, and honored to stand guard over these people at the memorial for LaVoy Finicum. LaVoy taught me one thing, that each of us must stand, or we all will fall. And so I'm standing with LaVoy Finicum and the Bundys against the corruption that's caused by the United States government to their property, to our laws, to our land, in their quest to take over the United States, to make it into their corporation of Agenda 21 and Agenda 30. I ask each and every one of you to understand what these agendas stand for. These agendas stand for slavery of the people. We will become slaves of a one world order, a one world government of the UN. So each of us must stand against that to retain our state rights as a sovereign state. We had some stuff happen yesterday that a lot of people aren't aware of. Last I talked with LaVoy was down at the refuge, and back last year on the 25th, and there was a meeting down there, and in that meeting was several protesters. We were supposed to be a violent movement that hit Harney County, but the protesters that protested against the Constitution was allowed to come in and to represent what they thought was their rights without being objected to brutality as the federal government does to anybody that steps out against their federal constitution, federalism. This woman was standing there saying, "Our land." Let me share with you some knowledge that you might not be aware of. If it was not for the ranchers allowing you to step forth on the land that they hold title to, the graze and the water, you would not be able to hunt your deer. You would not be able to hunt your fish, go fishing, camping, doing your family recreation. But it's the generosity of the farmers and ranchers to allow you on their allotments that they own title to. The government does not hold title to these lands. The American ranchers do.
Not black.
You people call us welfare ranchers. Sorry. That is the terminology created by the Fish and Game, U.S. Fish and Game, the United States Government Bureau of Land Management, in their quest to control the land. We own the title to the land. We do not lease this land from the government. We hold title. Look at the definition of lease. Look at the definition of ownership. When you go for a bank account, bank loan on to buy a ranch, and they look at your allotments, you hold that title to the allotment, so that makes your loan able to go through. And that for the number of cows you can run AUM on that cat, on that. The government gets you to sign a lease paper, which is an illegal contract. You've given up your rights to your ownership. Because right there you've said, no, you own it, and that, instead of we own it, the ranchers and farmers. So what LaVoy and Ammon did that day was to ask ranchers to hold their ownership higher than the government's lies called lease. And that's why the protesters were there, to try to discourage people and to try to get people to look ahead. As Kate Brown, this scum they call Senator Merkley and Congressman Wyden made the statement that we have to stop the virus here. The virus is the people believing in the Constitution of the United States, not the corporation constitution of federalism. You understand the two principles, as Christiane Hall will teach you, will bring your enlightenment of where our rights come from. We have indefinable rights that was given to us by our founding fathers and by the greatest person in the world, God. Under God showed unto these wise forefathers how to write the Constitution so us common men could understand what our rights were under the Bill of Rights. Once you start understanding the process, you will understand. But LaVoy and Ammon asked ranchers to come down and to step up and take ownership of what they truly own and stop this comments that the people from the cities that was protesting us that day was calling it our land, public lands. There is no public lands. Public land is a myth perpetrated by the federal government where the people could sit there and watch the defrauding of the American people. I got an example for you. Go into an area where the federal government road closes and posts no trespassing signs on so-called our land, public lands, and see what happens to you. You'll be either arrested or ticketed by unlawful agencies like the law enforcement of the BLM and that, or the law enforcement of the Forest Service, which are not legal. They are corrupt security agencies of these illegal agencies. Once you look into that, you'll understand that. I'm just touching on points to open your eyes, to make you look. It's got to take you, the American people, to understand the law rights that you hold is more powerful than the rights of the federal government. The lamestream media or mainstream media, whichever you want to call them, are sitting here propaganda against us people to achieve one world order and the control of the elitists over us. And so they will lie to you. And they called us in Harney County, the people that stood with LaVoy and Ammon, as a hostile element. The only hostility living here that I seen came from the federal agencies that came here with one intent: to kill. You approached any of their compounds, they occupied our courthouse, they occupied our airport. You were met with armed men with their fingers on the trigger. That right there, my friends, means one thing: they were intent to kill. They were not here as peaceful. They were here to kill. They brought in weapons of destruction, militarized weapons to do one thing but to kill. They set up an illegal roadblock up on 395 at milepost 52 at Joaquin Miller campground with the intent to kill with that illegal roadblock. I stood there with the Oregon Live, which is out of Portland. It's the news media that has preached a lot of anti-people comments. They're a puppet or propagandist of the federal government and the elitist society against the people. And they printed a lot of lies. I stood there and telling them and showing them, as you looked up towards the south on Highway 395 from Joaquin Miller campground where LaVoy Finicum was killed, it's a blind corner. If you're coming around that corner and you would see the site where their illegal roadblock was set. If this was so-called traffic stop, why, we have 4 questions to ask. Why was the illegal roadblock set up? It was called a dead man's roadblock. Also, why was there snipers in the brush hiding in the trees as rats do in a hole, but to kill? Number 3, why did they stop these men on freedom of movement within the states, which we are allowed by the Constitution to move freely amongst the country through the highway? They stopped them illegally. They had no warrants. The warrants weren't issued till 7 hours after. There was no warrant to stop them. There was no warrant to kill. And these are illegal actions perpetrated by the federal government and, unfortunately, by the Oregon State government, Kate Brown, and by our congressmen, Wyden and our Senator Merkley, by Loretta Lynch, by Valerie Jarrett, by her puppet. And I say this: Barack Obama was a puppet of Valerie Jarrett, which controlled the destruction of the United States. Through her, they killed LaVoy. we have followed a chain of emails between these important people indicating the virus must stop now. Because LaVoy Finicum was an intelligent man that spoke softly so we could all understand our constitutional rights as an American citizen. They had to shut down LaVoy, as they said in the letters coming down to Kate Brown, our bisexual governor of Oregon, that we must stop the virus because LaVoy is starting to reach people and people starting to understand their rights. So on the 26th of January at 4:32 p.m., the day of my birth, 4 hours shy of my birth, they committed murder of an American citizen for no reason other than standing up for his constitutional rights and educating the public on their constitutional rights. I've heard you people say, oh my God, they took over the Malheur Refuge. Excuse me. To you imbeciles that believe the Malheur Refuge belongs to the federal government, it does not belong to the federal government. It belongs to the state of Oregon. It belongs to the ranchers of Harney County through Otley versus the United States of 1942. I personally know the Otleys. I know their descendants. This was for you to understand that the refuge and the ownership through the United States Supreme Court went back to the original owners was the ranchers and they became the owners of that Malheur Refuge. But the federal government in 1972 came out with the FLTMA Act. The FLTMA Act was a lie perpetrated on us by our Federalist Congress and our Federalist Senate and our Federalist President to do one thing: to control the land through manipulation and lies. The United States had perpetrated lies upon the American people for many years to conquer and control the ranch lands. This is where welfare ranchers come in. This is where the leases come in. Malheur Refuge was taken by lies and deceptions. Over the generation, people accepted these lies. It's like if I told you I bought a horse for $500 to sell you that horse for $5,000 to gain myself a $4,500 profit. It's the same thing. I've deceived you. And that's what the government has done to us on that Malheur Refuge. I hear people say, well, we should give it back to the Native Americans. It's their original land. No, it is not. The Native Americans never claimed title to no lands. They were transients amongst the land. They went from the Malheur Refuge to the top of the Steens to Silver Creek where I live, traveling as they followed their food supplies. And that they never claimed ownership or title to no lands. And then we have the issue of the chiefs of the Burns Paiute selling all the lands of the Malheur Refuge to the ranchers for one mule, one wagon, and whiskey. That's history. The Paiutes never thought nothing of it until this movement started with LaVoy Finicum and Ammon Bundy. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, it's their land. It's never been your land. You moved upon it and utilized it, but you never owned the land. And now, let's get that square again. The Burns Paiutes never owned the lands. The original tribes in this country was the Shoshones and the Bannocks. The Paiutes came from over on the Snake River country and was moved here by the cavalry. Sorry, it's facts. It's a known fact. You come from the Six River areas, which is over by Ontario, Oregon. And so understand some of the history and to make the claims that you try. You sold out and discredited the Bundys, but unfortunately you discredited yourself in the process of accepting money from the federal government to look away from what was going on. You didn't care about the artifacts. You had no desire to know about the artifacts. Then all of a sudden, oh my God, you're offended? Why weren't you offended by the artifacts being desecrated in a basement, dank, dirty, dusty basement covered with rats? LaVoy showed you the conditions of your artifacts. He showed you your artifacts were being used in the refuge as yard ornaments. And the refuge had they didn't give a damn about your history. Period. They did not give a damn. Some of the best collections of artifacts I've seen from the refuge has been with refuge employees. The best set I've seen was a refuge scientist that was down there studying the historical culture. Personal collection he has in his own house, put into a big huge set of drawers that he opens each drawer and there lays artifacts. It was a collection he accumulated. Is he sent in jail for artifacts? No, you didn't care about the artifacts, but you try to use it against the Bundys and you also try to use it against LaVoy. So that's a lie that you perpetrated amongst the people to go with the government so you could receive your money. You were bought out, sold, bam, stamped slaves to the oppressive government that you said oppresses you all your life. As long as money's involved, you fall for it. And so your claims is null and void. But LaVoy was standing for you, even though you were standing against him. He was standing for your rights. He was standing for your artifacts. He understood your culture, and you turned your back against him. I don't know why. I hope you're happy that you, down the road, will be sold, and you will be stomped down like LaVoy was, as you have been all your generations. You have fallen to drugs. You have fallen to alcohol. Your spokesman has been twice felony convictions for narcotics and drugs, and one for a minor child. And this is stuff that is one of your spokesmen for the tribe. Not a very good spokesman. Doesn't represent you very good. So we're off that issue. I will close that door and leave it shut. You can say what you want about me, I don't care. LaVoy Finicum stood for the rights of all men. Now, the movement that happened was a great movement. I am honored to have met these great men, and I stand with these great men. I've met their wives, I've met their family, and I am honored by it. And I had an opportunity to meet with Clive and Bundy at the funeral of LaVoy Finicum. I've been honored to meet several great men in my life, and I rank him amongst the tops, as when I met Ronald Reagan when he became the President of the United States, and he came to our Air Force Base to honor us as the best outstanding unit in the United States, small unit in the United States Air Force. I remember that man coming up to the honor guard that I was in, saluted us with a proper salute of respect to us from a commander-in-chief of the United States military. I've been honored to meet other great men from John Wayne's family. And when I did some work with John Wayne family, to the Bundys, to Clive and Bundy and his family, I feel are great men.